I've been ruminating on this topic since last week, and so I wanted to talk a little bit about intimacy.
I told you I'm not making out with you today.
You don't have a choice.
Okay.
This is being filmed now. We need something to get an audience. Let me just start by saying, what does intimacy mean to you guys?
Holding hands.
I think it means transparency.
Okay.
Like being known, being fully known, being transparent.
That's good.
I was looking up quotes because sometimes I'm not awesome with words, but even the quotes kind of sucked. So for me, I think intimacy is knowing somebody at like the heart level. I kind of, got a picture of if you could, like, in a non-gruesome doctor way, like open up somebody's chest and be like, what is your heart? What is your soul? Kind of what is your mind, to know that person, to see that person and still choose to love that person. Now, obviously a little bit more deeper for a wife. I think it differs for friends, for kids, but I think to know somebody and to generally understand somebody and still choose to be in a relationship and love that person is like intimacy to me.
Like a spiritual thoracotomy. I like it.
Yeah.
Is that a medical term?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's when you open up
Definitely
their chest.
Googling
Usually
that
it's a
word.
last-ditch effort to
Real
crack in the
technical.
chest. That's
Got it.
Chat GPT says thoracotomy is.
usually it's on someone that's probably not going to make it. Okay. It's a very last-ditch effort. Doesn't help our context here so much. I looked up definitions too, and it's so general, right? But it means something different to everybody. I think everybody thinks of something different when you say intimacy. I don't think any of us jump to sex, which is what most men kind of do with the term intimacy. But I think we all kind of know that's not really what it's talking about. But Google says close familiarity. It's really just a closeness, right? It's a very general term for closeness, so it can mean a lot of different things and apply to a lot of different things. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the 5 love languages, because I think that kind of applies here, because intimacy means something different to everybody. We experience it different than our wives experience it. The way that we want to communicate intimacy is often different than the way our wives want to receive it, and it's because we all have different love languages. And I feel like Gary Chapman's book is still kind of applicable. I mean, most of us probably read it in high school or when we started dating. And just a quick refresher, but the 5 love languages are, for those that care, words of affirmation, so that's verbal encouragement, words of appreciation to your spouse or whoever. Quality time is the second one, which is not necessarily undivided attention, but that's one of the things Gary Chapman talks about. Shared activities, things you enjoy together. Receiving gifts, usually with some kind of like thought behind it, not just buying them anything, but something that they would appreciate more. Acts of service, so that's helpful tasks or chores. And physical touch, which is holding hands, whoever said holding hands, kissing, that kind of stuff. And that's, I think, where a lot of men think, physical touch is definitely mine, even though it's not, because it's not just sex.
Right.
And I'm not the best at like even remembering what Megan's love languages are. Usually you've got like a primary and a secondary one is what he talks about in the book. But one I'm trying to get better at is just non-sexual physical touch is one of hers. And so that's one thing that I've struggled with through the years is like, oh yeah, I want to touch her, when I'm horny, so she knows if I'm doing lots of physical touch throughout the day, it's just because I'm turned on and want to have sex that night. And so she doesn't see that as communicating in her love language. She's like, well, Aaron's turned on, he's just doing this because it's in his head today. And so I've tried to work on like, okay, even on the days when I'm not just turned on, I try to actually make the effort to touch her physically, so that she knows it's not just when I'm in the mood, it's to actually communicate in her love language, and not just as foreplay. And honestly, I don't even know if I could say what my particular ones are. I think Megan would say that acts of service is probably my love language. So like when she's done chores around the house or the house is clean when I get home, I feel like that is probably one way that love and intimacy is communicated to me. What do you guys think about what does intimacy mean to your wives? Would you guess, or would you say?
So yeah, I mean, I think there are correlations between love and intimacy, but I think those are two different things for sure, right? Because like what you were saying, Dan, I think you know, the hope and the goal is, like you said, to have someone who knows you, have someone that you know, and choose to love them anyway. That's what Christ models for us, is he knows everything about us and
Right.
he chooses us anyway. And so that's like the combination, for me, in my opinion, that's the combination of love and intimacy. Intimacy being, you know everything about that person.
Yeah.
Love being the fact that you still choose them and want to live for their benefit. So I think that's like how those things are correlated. I think that you can have one without the other, but
Right.
a healthy marriage would have both. I think the love languages thing, like, I think I agree with that, like the book and the premise of his book. But I think that they change. I think that they can change.
Yeah.
Like, I think that you can go through seasons where maybe you don't have a lot of time. So someone spending a lot of quality time with you is going to mean significantly more. There's times where I bought something for Kirsty that I thought was very thoughtful, and she's like, "We don't have money for this. What are you doing, you jerk? Like, I would have rather used this money for this. Like, what are you thinking?" So I mean, I think it changes, and then I think sometimes how we experience love can be different than how we show love. So it's like, you know, you could say your love language is physical touch. Does that mean that that's how you show love, or that's how you receive love? And I think those things can change. But I do think it is helpful to have context for ways that you show love, and knowing, like for you, with the example with Megan, I think, that's a big one for me too. It's like, I'm doing this out of love. And if you're doing it for yourself, then that doesn't count as love, you know? So, but yeah, I mean, I think like intimacy too comes from being able to express how you receive love and what you need in that moment. You know, maybe like we were saying last week, you haven't had a date night in months, you know, maybe that, hey, I'm really feeling like we're not on the same page. Like, this is what I need. And I think that's intimacy, right? Is, for me, it's like that when you're showing that vulnerability, when you're having that level of transparency, you're opening that door for the love to come in. Whereas if you're not communicating that, there's that lack of intimacy. There's not the opportunity a lot of times to be loved in those ways that you're needing, right? So
Yeah, I agree with that.
I was probably always on the the page of physical touch is. And I would say that probably changed after we had kids. I don't know that there's probably a mom out there that says physical touch is her love language after having multiple kids.
Yeah.
I think, you know, just being around our group, there hasn't been a time where each one of our wives has been like, I'm so tired.
Yeah.
and
Personal
overtouched.
space is my love language.
Yeah. Like respecting my bubble.
Yeah.
Is my love language. And there's times where I get that, where kids just monkey on you and you're like, I don't even want to be touched anymore right now. But to David's point, I 1,000% think that it changes. I think there's times in seasons where acts of service are probably the best thing that I can do for Kim to show her that I love her. And sometimes, you know, she just needs a word of affirmation. I think that can ebb and flow with the season of life you're in, where the kids are at, where work is at. And I think if you know your partner, you should be able to generally gauge and give them that pinpointed need, hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like it definitely changes, like you said, with kids. Because, I mean, before kids, it would probably, like with Leon, it would probably be like quality time. But then since kids, it would probably be acts of service.
Yeah.
Which is something that I've tried to be better at, whether it's something as simple as there's laundry on the bed, she's busy doing something, I should probably fold this, and trying to just not be oblivious to it.
Yeah.
And then it's after the fact where I'm like, man, I should have just done that. I should have just done that for her. And then like, but then it's also like the intimacy aspect of it is also doing it without expecting something in return,
Mm-hmm.
or the love, or like to where you're like, you're doing it because you love that person.
Mm-hmm.
You're not doing it because you want some later that night. Like
Mm-hmm.
you're like, no, I just want to serve you.
Mm-hmm.
That's my role as your husband. Like I need to do this. And so that's definitely probably hers. And I definitely need to be better at it. I mean, because it's hard to want to get home and want to do that stuff, but then she's doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so just recognizing like we're both exhausted, we're both
Yeah.
tired, but how can I make her evening a little easier? And that's why I think that is hers right now. It's just like anything that helps ease her burden would be how she would feel the most loved in that sense. But,
Yeah. Right.
I think a big problem with, I mean, intimacy in like general terms, like you talked about, like where you have a week or longer where you feel you're not on the same page. When you're being good at intimacy, that's when you feel like you're on the right page and you can communicate well and both your needs are being met. But I think one of the big problems is having expectations that aren't being met and then not really communicating those to your partner. Do you guys find that you are good at communicating expectations or what you need or what you want in a relationship with your wife?
Man, I would say no. I'm generally not one to be like, we talked about it with the last episode is, you hurt my feelings type of a thing. I would say at this point, we're at a point where 2 of the 3 kids have an activity, and we've reached a point where there is an activity Monday through Friday night. And with 3 kids, preschool, 1st grade, 3rd grade, I'm not even joking, guys, a birthday party invite comes home at least once a week for one of them, if not multiple. So then you're trying to do, whose birthday party can you get to, or birthday parties? We've had it where there's 2 on Saturday, 1 on Sunday. And we've gotten to the point where we ask the kids, we understand that you want to go to Sky Zone, but do you like this child?
Yeah.
Because 1, I don't want to spend money on a gift if you don't like the child. And 2, I'd sooner take you to Sky Zone and have family time or have a date with, Aaron and Megan or Chris and Leondi or David and Kirsty and like see those friends and have it be a more mutually beneficial piece. So we've started asking, do you like this child? And so I would say, part of the communication for us is we will literally pass each other. We'll say Monday, kids have taekwondo at 4:40. We pick them up from school 3:15, 3:30ish, depending on carpool. So we have like an hour where we're crossing paths. What came home in the backpacks? Did we eat lunches? Who's staying home with Harv? Who's taking them to taekwondo? And so there's that quick, and then you come home and you're doing dinner, and then the kids, how is you trying to unpack the day for the kids, and most of the time they're losing their bananas because they're tired, because they're hungry, because they're and communication gets lost in the shuffle. And sometimes you miss a text, or you just forget to text, or you have a thought, but the kid's going a million miles, or all 3 kids going a million miles in your ear, and you forget what you even wanted to communicate with them. And so you're not meeting expectations, not because you're trying to hide, but literally it just gets lost in the mix. And we haven't totally figured out how to best work that. We're doing our best, but I would say communication is is not 100%. And that's not because either of us are awful. It's because that's life right now.
Mm-hmm. I think life with young kids, it's going to be like so busy and chaotic. I mean, I think it's easy to be like, oh, next year is going to be easier. When they're this age, it's going to be easier, even though life is probably just going to be as busy.
Yeah.
But there is a certain thing about having young kids at home, kids starting school, lots of activities that make certain seasons of life a lot harder. I think when they're in high school and stuff, it is going to be easier to prioritize your relationship, but we have to be able to survive this period of time as well.
Yeah.
But I think there is probably, I could see high school being a lot easier. Like we could leave the kids home without a babysitter,
Right.
and like have a date night. Cause that's one thing I try to do is like 2 date nights a month. And that's hard to do 2 date nights a month. Like you have to find a babysitter and make sure the kids are going to bed on time. And, even just doing that is a tall order sometimes. So, I mean, and, quality time may, like you kind of said, like maybe that's not how you communicate love and intimacy at this season of life because you just don't have the time. But, I mean, it's a battle.
It is.
Yeah. And I mean, I feel like part of it too is like kind of sharing that load, kind of like what you're saying, Dan, because like we're kind of in that same boat. I mean, Monday is gymnastics for Lindy, Tuesday's soccer practice for Lindy, Wednesday's small group, Thursday's soccer practice for Lindy, Friday's soccer practice for Kyle, and then we have games on Saturday. And so I get a lot of joy most of the time by coaching the kids in soccer and stuff. But Leondi just doesn't enjoy it the way that I do. And so for me, it's like, hey, you should come to like practice, you know what I mean? But then trying to recognize those times to where it's like, you got your stuff that you want to do. She's trying to study to finish her CPA and all that other kind of stuff. And so it's like, if you need that time, just take that time.
Yeah.
And like recognizing that with your spouse too. And like, that can almost be an extension of kind of the acts of service in a sense to where you're like, I want to take this off of your plate so that way you can focus on what you need to focus on. But then it also does get tricky, the time issue, to where then it's like we blink, then it's Sunday, we're going to church, football starts this weekend, and so you're just like, well, Monday we're right back into it.
Yep.
And so it's just trying to juggle all of that. And then like as the kids get older, you think to yourself like, well, surely it'll like get easier, right? But then you really sit down and think about it. You're like, well, as they get older, their practice is going to become more frequent. They're going to want to do more stuff. They're going to have more extracurriculars and all this other kind of stuff. And so then it's like, well, they may become more self-sufficient, but that also comes with more responsibility on that part too. And so trying to navigate that while keeping that intimacy with your spouse is just a juggling act. But I think right now at the season we're in, the best way that we've handled it is for me just to be like, look, I like it when you come to practice and I like it when you're there and you can just kind of hang out with other moms or whatever and just like socialize. But if you don't feel like you can handle that right now or just like do that and this stuff, then just focus on what you need to focus on. Like, and we're just very different personalities in that sense. Yeah. And so I feel like I can probably handle more of the social aspect to where she just gets overstimulated or overwhelmed more quicker than I do. Yeah. And so it's always kind of a hard issue or balancing act to try and figure out, okay, when are you at that point where you just need to go home. You just need to stay home, just hang out, do your thing. Yeah. And sometimes it is literally going home and folding laundry and watching a show, because that allows her time to be able to decompress and do that kind of stuff. Whereas like for me, being able to coach soccer or do something like that almost is a decompress for me away from, because it's still an escape from work. Yeah. And so it's recognizing that in your spouse, but then also trying to help your spouse prioritize those things that help them to do that.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big part of the intimacy aspect, because it helps you grow closer together, because you're prioritizing each other's needs.
Yeah.
But,
I think that is the hardest part with like marriage and having small kids, because I mean, I have a, similar example to what you're saying, where it's like, for me, one of the things that I've done is the basketball dads on Thursdays. So it's like, for me, that's a great outlet, have some competition, play some basketball, get some physical activity, spend time with other guys. But then it's, it's a pull on Kirsty, because that means she's doing, bedtime all by herself. And then for her, she doesn't necessarily get as much if I'm like, hey, well, why don't you just take a girls' night every Friday, or, whatever day of the week, and do something similar. It's like, well, that's not what she wants to do. She'd rather spend time with the family. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's where it's hard. It's like, back to your question, Aaron, of like being able to communicate what you need. I think part of it is, you got to communicate it, but then you also have to figure out how to keep everything balanced so that one person doesn't feel like they're always accommodating. I mean, Kirsty will never tell me like, no, I don't want you to do that. She'll be like, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. And then, but then now she hasn't seen me in 3 weeks, and she's doing the kids all by herself. She's cleaning the house all day, all by herself. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I think but I think going back to the time, because that's, I think the biggest challenge is just you only have so much time. Yeah. So you're forced to prioritize. But I think one thing that I'm trying to get better at, and I have spurts where it's working and then it drops off, is just being intentional with the time that you do have. Because I think sometimes I don't even know what I need, and I don't know what I'm missing, and same with Kirsty. It's like you're just in survival mode. So you're just trying to get by. But there's been times where, we're prioritizing going to bed together at the same time. So you at least have a few minutes before you fall asleep. And even just like, how was your day? How are you doing? Or being able to pray together at night. And if you can get in a rhythm of that, I feel like that goes a really long way, especially praying together. It's something we've kind of gotten out of the habit of doing now, but it's just an opportunity. I mean, it builds intimacy, because you're talking about what's on your heart. Mm-hmm. You can pray for each other, which just builds a ton of intimacy. And then, it's just, it's just that time where it's sacred, it's sacred time, to end the day with that, I think is really good. But,
instead of just getting the kids to bed and scrolling on your phone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Just so easy to do. So easy to do.
Because then you scroll and then it's like, oh, it's 10:30. We just go to bed.
Yeah. But, I don't know. I think for me, probably the harder thing is making sure that Kirsty has what she needs, because, I think it takes intentionality, and if you don't have that intimacy, or if you feel out of sync, like what you're saying, Chris, sometimes you're not even thinking about like, what's off? What do I need? Like, how are things? You're just kind of in your own little world. So what about you? Did you answer the question?
I don't know if I did. What was the question?
It was your question.
How do you communicate what you need, I think?
Yeah, I don't know that I have a good answer to it either. I mean, honestly, because I think it's so true. We don't really know what we need a lot of times. I can tell you this week, like, instead of, like, we used to watch movies together before bed. We'd put the girls to bed. Now, like, sometimes bedtime takes an hour and we're both exhausted, and we go to bed and we end up scrolling on our phones or something. And that's definitely not helping intimacy. But this week we found a stupid show to watch together last night. We watched a movie that will remain nameless.
K-pop Demon Hunters.
Yeah. A couple nights ago. But it actually did help our intimacy a lot, I felt like, because we sat on the couch, but instead of sitting separately, I kind of just held her in my arms while we watched a movie. And I feel like this week, that's what we both needed. It was physical touch that was not going to lead to sex. And so it filled that need, I felt like, for her. And it was just a good time together, even just watching stupid TV together, which we don't often do. Yeah. But this week, I could tell you that's probably what we both needed, and it felt like it worked intimacy-wise. Yeah. But I mean, next week it could be something else. Maybe next week I might be working most nights. I mean, it's hard to gauge when we all have such busy lives and kid activities, and my work schedule varies a lot. So what I might need in a given week is just to go to bed and get some sleep too. I might need to sleep in until 10 a.m. and Megan does a pretty good job of realizing when I'm on a weird shift and I need to sleep in until 10 a.m. and she keeps the girls quiet. And then if I'm working a lot of early shifts, I try to recognize I need to get up with everybody and actually function in the morning. So I think it varies a lot, season of life, and even just by the week.
I think like changing it up too. You know what I mean? So like you get the kids in bed, you don't just go lay in bed even, but like go to the couch, spend one night, watch a show, watch a movie or something, but like sit on the couch together like that. And then another night do something different, but just like, and having that variety makes it easier to be more intentional as well. Because then you're not just going through the motions. You're not getting to the point where you're just doing the same thing each and every night. Because I know that's what I'm terrible at, is just like kind of have a routine, and it's not even intentional, but like kids get to bed, okay, I'm just gonna go lay in bed. She'll do something, then she'll come lay in bed, we'll talk for a minute, we'll do something, even whatever it is that we do, but like change that up. So instead of going to the bedroom, now go to the couch and hang out there for a little bit after the kids are in bed. Because then it kind of forces you to be a little more intentional about that time together, and about like just not and communicating, right, too, because then it becomes easier to communicate, because then the more you talk, the easier it just becomes. I mean, it's always weird to communicate how you're feeling, especially if you haven't talked in the last few days, right? Yeah. Because you've both been so crazy and so busy and everything that it's like, well, I don't want to just come at you with how I'm feeling and what I need right now, because we haven't even talked, and I don't want to just dump all that on you. And so the more you talk to each other and kind of do that, and I feel like changing that routine kind of allows you to do that, then it will allow you to kind of communicate better as well.
Yeah,
I like that, changing up, getting out of the routine, because it's so easy to fall into the routine.
Have you ever had it on one of your date nights where you haven't been together in a while, and so the first 15 to 20 minutes, just the car ride to the restaurant or wherever you're going, you kind of dump the kid conversations, the school conversations, the schedule conversations. Then you actually get down, you sit down, you figure out what you're going to eat, and you kind of look at each other and you go, so what do we talk about now?
Right.
You just stare at each other.
Yeah, like you're like, what?
Just look at each other's eyes.
Yeah.
So how's it going? I think if you're not intentional, or, to your point, watch that show or something that engages you both. You can, luckily, we're nowhere near this, but you always hear, like with divorces, like, well, we're just two separate people now. We never connected. There was a separation, and some of the things that have brought us together, which totally started out as a joke with our white elephant party. I think it was 2 years ago. And Megan ended up with that murder mystery book that Kim had got. And Kim and I have ended up reading that series. I think there's like 5 books in it now. And one of the things that it's super easy for us to engage on is like, within this book, who do you think the murderer is? And I think it's this person because of this. Well, I'm on a different track there. So we've kind of started doing that with like different Netflix shows. You were talking about watching stupid TV. We watched one, I don't remember what it was called. It was wild though, on Netflix, where it was like a catfishing thing. And this teenage girl and her boyfriend are getting text from an anonymous number like, hey, I'm going to steal your boyfriend. You should kill yourself. Like wild stuff. Ends up being like the girl's mom.
Yeah, I saw a preview for that.
And so like we're sitting here talking about, well, it's not going to be somebody like, but like we just engaged in conversation in something that was not work. It was not school.
Right.
Just got us talking, and intimacy on a mind level where it's, it's not about sex. It's not about some deep, meaningful thing with school or a problem you're trying to solve. You're just talking like you did when you dated about something, even if it's silly.
That's great. No, I like that.
Yeah, we did that like with there's 2 movies. There was first one, and then there's a sequel. Knives Out, I think is what it was.
Yeah. That was a
And then
good
there was
one.
another one that came out after, the Daniel Craig.
Mm.
He was like the detective, or whatever. But it's kind of like a Clue
Yeah.
kind of murder mystery type deal, and that's something that would be fun to like kind of do more regularly, because they have games for that. Like you can go just buy it, and it's like then you can give it to somebody else when you're done, because once you figure it out, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But like where it gives you clues, and you have to like actually like be engaged, and then you can kind of converse and everything. Because like we really enjoyed both those, like sitting there watching it together, but then trying to like figure it out as we walked through it. And she's given her who she thinks did it. I'm doing kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
But like, and that seems silly, but it's so important too, because it's kind of like you said, like how so many of these couples, they just, once the kids are gone, they're just so disconnected. But like what you're talking about as well with the date nights, to where you're like, well, what do we talk about now? Like,
Yeah.
now's the perfect time to get good at that, to be able to have those times where you can like just talk about dumb crap together, because that still connects you. And so then that still gives you something to build on those date nights, or whatever it is, or even just those times after you get the kids to bed and you're watching something or playing a game or something like that, because then it's just like you have those moments that you can fall back on when the kids are no longer there. And I just had to bring that up because you said that, and it just brought those movies back to me, because those were pretty good.
Yeah.
So if you guys haven't done it,
I think that's what it was this week, though. I mean, you're focused on something that's not the kids, not the schedule, not work. Even if it's dumb, it doesn't. I mean, just something that you both can take an interest in, that's separate from all the other stuff. And that's probably what was the big deal. Just watching some silly stuff on Netflix, because one of them was one of those mystery books that they made into a show, I think. Yeah. And and Megan had read the books, but I was like, trying to figure out who the murderer was, and so it's just something to talk about that's, doesn't matter, but gets you close, talking about something that's not just the schedule. And so you're not just roommates, you're actually back like when you were dating,
1,000%.
Yeah, that's a good one. Do you guys, I mean, sex is part of intimacy. What do you guys think about scheduling sex?
I haven't tried it. I've never done
Me either.
All right, well, I haven't tried it either. I've thought about it, but I've seen some things
like day of the week, or like time of day,
put it on the
like,
schedule, or like Wednesday we're gonna have sex. I don't honestly have a strong opinion on it. I've just debated it periodically. Like life gets so busy. Like, would it make it better to schedule it? I don't know the answer, but
I don't know. It takes me back. Do you guys remember there was a show, I think it was on ABC, like back in the day, called Darba and Greg?
Yeah.
And she was like a free spirit, and he was like total straight lace. Like everything was on a schedule. And her whole thing to him was, you need to be like random with it. And she ended up figuring out a schedule, and it was like when the geese were migrating, or like the most random things. And she put it together. She goes, "You found a way to schedule it." So I don't know. I'm sure there's couples that need to do it, and I'm not going to dog them for that. I don't think my brain could handle it. Because then what if it doesn't work out, and then you're kind of upset about it, or I don't know.
Yeah, I would really struggle with my OCD of like, well, now I can't check it's on the schedule. Do I just delete it off the
Do I
schedule
reschedule
now?
it? Like propose new time? How does
Just
that
send
work?
a calendar invite.
Yeah.
Hey, can we reschedule this for
Well, after 16 years of marriage, we finally have figured out how to share schedules, which now that Megan's working sometimes is super important. So I don't schedule things when she has things, and it's actually been really nice seeing her schedule, so I know what to expect, on a day off. But
Yeah.
we haven't made the move to schedule sex. I've just wondered if it's a good idea or
If
not.
you do it, let us know how that goes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put it on for tonight. We'll let you know.
See how that plays for you.
Schedule for 15 minutes from now.
We better wrap this up.
I hope she deletes it. Just
One final thought. As men, we are hunters. Voice is strong. Slaying demons with our song. Fix the world and make it right when darkness finally meets the light.
Amen.
And I'll leave you guys with that. See you guys next time.
Next time.
Oh, man.
Wow.